Well, hello everybody, and welcome to HaKave. I'm looking at some empty chairs, but we're recording from the past, and want to welcome all of you tuning in the future. We're pre-recording a post-digital, post-laptop performance conversation, but we're really glad that you all are able to join us virtually, and I'm really glad to be joined on stage and online by some really terrific panelists who can speak to us about visibility and presence and performance in this post-digital, post-laptop age. So with me on stage to my left is Olivia Jack, who's working with all kinds of techniques, live coding and visualization and stuff that she'll talk about later. About to begin is Isabel Lewis, who's behind her laptop with something that she's going to share with us in a bit. And then joining us over the internet from the UK, Rebecca Fiebrink. Hello. And Lars TCF Holdhus is joining from Oslo. So we have a really balanced group of people to talk to us, not just about the disappearance of music, but what it might reappear as. And because I want to hear what they have to say, let's go ahead and not take up any more time. I want to turn things over to Isabel.
Great. Thank you, Peter, for the introduction. Let's begin. I'm moving my body. I'm dancing. It's slow. I'm on the floor, and my limbs seem to move at an even, uninterrupted pace. There is a continuous gliding and sliding effect. I call this body morphing, and it requires quiet concentration. A slowing down of mind, a sinking down, a receding into the back of one's consciousness. I'm slower now in my movements, but mostly in my state of being. I don't think I am awake in another way. The ground is being warmed by my contact with it. I spread the heat of my body through space. This dance changes the surfaces of the body and the surface of other things around it through continuous contact. After a while, the flesh of my outer thigh is colder, and the ground beneath me slightly warmer. This body changes smoothly from one shape or suggested image to another in a gradual process of transformation. An arched back, a twisted tree trunk, an animal, maybe a large cat, an ancient Greek statue, fallen warrior from Temple of Apheia, and many more strange reorganizations of limbs that always suggest but change before delivering an image, before concretizing. The dance becomes stranger now, less suggestive, more abstract, drawn away into something else, something somehow otherwise than it was just a moment ago. The body morphing now reorganizes the body from the floor into a standing position. The hips sway in a figure-8 motion and the torso writhes slowly to the boom of the ever-present and lazy bass beat. The dance is now like slowed-down sexy club dancing or an unambitious and impossibly slow striptease. But the eyes are different. Rather than outward-oriented, the gaze is turned inward and the dance carries on without a demand for attention, without a goal. It just keeps moving languidly to the music that loops and then imperceptibly evolves into something else, with the ever-present bass dragged out 60 beats per minute, like the human heart at rest. The music, similar to the dance, is almost recognizable too. Samples layered over samples, popular electronic music chopped up and reorganized, like that morphing body writhing and shifting. Is it Grimes? Is it Drake? Is it Phil Collins? Is it Juicy J? Is it the harp from Lana Del Rey's video games? Or is it medieval chamber music? It is at once rhythmic and ambient in its repetition and slow transformation. Sampled sound fragments are layered, looped, slowed way down, pitch shifted, sung and spoken over top of and processed live. The music slips in and out of familiarity, at times coming into focus, but often lingering in peripheral attention, becoming a density in the air that holds an arranged situation and contributes to its vibe. The dance and music elements of an arrangement in space, the dance and the music elements are part of an arrangement in space I call an occasion. In a Whiteheadian sense, this is an occasion of experience, and is in and of itself a composite of indefinitely many occasions of experience, each with its respective dimensions of time. What I call an occasion is a format for live art where particular conditions are created for a celebratory meeting of things, people, plants, music, smells, and dances. This format draws upon Whiteheadian metaphysics with an ontological foundation that recognizes no mind-body duality. The occasion is immersive and unifies the human sensorium by addressing all of the senses. The French salons of the 17th century, but far less mannered and much more embodied, held to amuse, inspire, refine, and increase the knowledge of guests through conversation, are as well a reference for this format I call the occasion. Storytelling and other spoken content are introduced off script, freely spoken, offering stimulus to evoke and encourage socializing among guests. Gardens are the other main reference point for my understanding of the occasion as a live art format. The garden is hospitable to differing forms of engagement simultaneously, while retaining a readability as a garden. The design and layout of the garden suggests but does not determine forms of engagement. The garden seems to encourage a sense of slowing down and lingering. The occasion shares the quiet ambition with the garden to be such a kind of place. The kind of situation that invites bodily engagement of varying kinds and degrees, and with no single perspective or point of view from which to experience it. Members of the public can come and go as they please and choose their positions in space. The occasions work toward creating the conditions for a heightened awareness of one's bodily situatedness. Where are you? With whom or what do I inhabit this situation, and how? By addressing all of the senses in its composition. The crafting of a specific atmosphere is key to the reception of the occasions. Attention to light, the placement of furniture elements, the visual and textural qualities of the installation, the music, the smells, and how they are diffused in the space, the offer of food and drink and what they propose to the palate, the attitudes and physicalities of the performers, the density of the visitors in relation to the size of the spaces is key to generating the overall vibe. The host is accountable for guiding and shaping the live experience. To host such an occasion is to work at the calibration of the various elements as the situation evolves over time in relation to the guests' presences, and most importantly, to gently draw out the participation of the public. Using skills learned from DJing, I select from my gathered content, my set, so to speak, of dances, music, stories, and smells to generate the right energy at the right time, a matter, of course, of personal aesthetics and intuition, guided by a receptivity and responsiveness to the public. Thank you.
I guess we can just continue with our conversations, yeah? Actually, maybe I do want to kind of ask a couple of questions about
Sure.
that first. Well, can you tell us a little bit about some of the images that we're seeing behind this presentation? I mean, obviously, these are shots from the before times.
Yes. These are a selection of photographs from various hosted occasions, as they call them, that have happened in various places. So you're seeing some images from Dia Art Foundation in Chelsea, Faena Art in Miami. This is MCAM in Shanghai. And I think also there's Dia Beacon as well, the riverside by the Hudson River. So with multiple kinds of places.
Right, I see, and I see some kind of salon activities sort of happening and listening going on, and maybe somebody's tango dancing.
Yes, that particular occasion works with a dance called Kizomba, which originates in Angola in the 1980s, but is now danced all over the world. So dance and music are definitely married together in these shows.
I'm tempted to ask about the concept that you had for us today, because you've done something that's a bit specific to our current situation, because I know we gave you restrictions. Well, we didn't give them to you, but
Yes, of course.
the virus has given us restrictions. Yeah.
Right. Well, I always have the feeling that it's one thing to speak about addressing all of the senses, and it's another thing to actually activate that in real time for people. So I had actually wished to bring a smell diffuser to diffuse some of the smells that I've created in collaboration with Sissel Tolas, the Norwegian smell researcher, and to actually bring that along and move through the space with the smell diffuser as part of a dance, a choreography that is a kind of excerpt, I would say, from my occasions. So actually bringing this sense of storytelling in combination with music, in combination with scent and movement to the space. But yes, we were restricted, of course, by the rules for today, the situation of Corona.
Does that make you more aware of some of those elements, or do you have sort of the sense that you were aware of all of those things before, and you just have to kind of be patient in order to have that part of your practice return?
I actually think that it would be entirely possible to do this kind of work with safety regulations of distance, especially in the kind of format that I've created and worked on for the last several years. The fact that the public can actually determine their point of view and position themselves in space and be responsible for their distance, which is very different from a theater format where you're required to sit in rows in this particular way and you have to sort of create situations for distance. I've actually recently completed an exhibition at Kunsthalle Zurich where we were able to continue performances 6 days a week, every day, with those things in mind. It's become part of the choreography when I consider how to arrange spaces. Also, it becomes very much a logistical and artistic kind of problem solving to figure out how to create a feeling of intensity and immersion with all the appropriate, let's say, yes, health and safety regulations in mind.
Right. So, I mean, she's kind of gesturing this way as we look out. You in the audience can't see this, but I know you're familiar with this. There's this sort of tape across various chairs in this audience. This very kind of traditional proscenium lecture hall configuration, although with this very beautiful curtain. But so, I mean, in a way, this tape is kind of an acknowledgement, not only that this configuration doesn't fit this particular virus epidemiology, but also that this is a very fixed, rigid configuration for what to do with an audience, right?
Absolutely. And I think my particular interest in experimentation with formats for live performance is something that could really be relied upon or called upon at this very moment, where we really have to reconsider formats for performance and how we can still manage to gather in those safe ways. So I actually feel that it's upon the institutions to really work with artists who are working with performance to figure out how to do it. It's such in my case, it's all about adaptability and how to create a situation of where the public also determines their experience in space, and how to sort of constrain or how to attend to that movement of the public can be part of an artistic conversation. But I think if we impose these kind of generalized standards on what is possible or not possible with live performance, then we're always kind of addressing the most basic the most basic level understanding of what performance can be, and that is this kind of traditional theatrical situation, for example. And I think there's a lot more room for play and experimentation there.
Well, so for an online audience, even if we had your smell diffuser here, those of you watching us from wherever you're watching from wouldn't be able to experience the smell. So if you had to describe what that element was like, because I know that everybody is now more aware of smell. Also, not to fixate on this, but suddenly, like, this is probably a year that the world's population has been more aware of smell. It's being attached to their health or well-being than ever before in recent history, whether they were kind of experiencing this as a symptom or were kind of looking for the possibility of it being a symptom. So how would you describe that smell experience, since they can kind of only get it from sound here, or from your words?
Yes, I've had the great fortune of collaborating with Sissel Tolas for 5 years now, who's been for 20 years researching and archiving smells from all over the world, breaking that down on the level of chemistry and being able to compose and create scent. So in the case of what I would have shared with you today, Sissel and I created 3 smells that were a part of our first collaboration. One of them was entirely abstract, based on a question. So we took 1 year to think about and develop these smells. One of them was, if intellectuality had a smell, what would it be? So many people like that scent, actually. They tend to describe it as like kind of cool, clean. It has like an airiness to it, but it also has something a bit sharp and chemical to that smell, something a bit metallic as well. The second of the smells is it's kind of alternate in this, in a kind of mind-body duality that I'm questioning inside of the work. So if bodily culture had a smell, the smell of the body had, like, really the culture of the body, if that had a smell, what would it be? And that one is based on a memory. So it's based actually on a memory of clubbing in Berghain for myself. So I, with Sissel, kind of worked on recreating a memory of the smell of this club. And the third and final smell is a smell that contains both of the prior two, or sort of can house the both of them, and it's the smell of the garden. So we invented a kind of Mediterranean garden, so notes of sort of earthen notes, a wet earth, damp, mossy smells. It smells like the forest floor, actually, kind of decomposing. And in that show, the garden becomes this metaphor for the place where mind and body can coexist without this binary tension between them.
Great. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm curious, for those of you watching, what sort of synesthesia we may be triggering, or what kind of smells you get over the course of this conversation, even intellectual smells. So thanks so much.